Now let's take a look at a couple of different ways of posing characters. So let's start with our character here. And I want to create his other eye. So we're going to go to Z plugin and let's go to the subtool master. Let's do a mirror. And I'm just going to append this as a new subtool, mirror it across the x-axis. We'll say OK. So that's going to create our other eye on the other side. So now we have two eyes as subtools. So in order to pose our characters, we're going to use something called transpose. Okay, you maybe remember that whenever we moved, scale, or rotated something, we used this transpose line, and that's what we're going to use to pose our characters as well. So first, let's grab the subtool that we want to pose, and we typically want to go to a lower subdivision level to be able to pose this. So let's bring this down to level 1. And so what we want to do is use rotate to rotate the limbs from the joints. So for instance, if we wanted to rotate the shoulder, we would draw it out from here, and this would be the pivot, and we'd rotate it. The problem is, when we rotate this, you can see it rotates from the right spot, but everything is rotating. So we're going to use topological masking to fix this. So I'm going to hold down Control and drag along the direction I want that to be. So I'm just clicking and dragging. You can see that it's created a soft mask, and the arm that I want to move is unmasked. And so I could come in and from the joint, drag down here, and then I could come in and actually rotate this. And you can see I'm off a little bit, so I can go from a different angle and rotate it. Now you can use move as well. Just keep in mind that's not going to rotate. It's going to actually move the whole thing. Rotate will give you a little bit more of a natural rotation. If I wanted to move like the elbow, I would just remask. So Control, drag down to the elbow, and then you can click from the elbow down and rotate it that way, or whatever angle that you want. Keep in mind when you click in the middle, it's going to sort of rotate it along that axis. You can come in here at the leg as well. Control drag down the leg, click from the hip joint down to the knee, let's say, and you can start to rotate it that way. Down to the knee. So you're creating these sort of temporary joints. Okay, now let's kind of give him a little bit more of a pose. So let's kind of bend him over a little bit. So I want to come up in here, and I've masked out just the legs. So now I can come in here and move these over. But you can see as I do that, I'm getting some issues here, so I'll just mask that. But also what I wanted you to see was the fact that the eyes are staying put. Okay, so all we're doing is we're posing the mesh here. So what we can do is use transpose master, and what that will do is allow us to pose our all of our geometry together. So if we have multiple subtools, it'll allow us to pose that together. So let's unmask everything. Okay, and I'm just going to go to Z plugin, and let's use the transpose master and go to T-pose mesh. All right, so now it's got this temporary mesh that we can come in, and we're going to use the same techniques here. So Control drag to kind of mask that. Now you can see the eyes are masked, so I'm going to Control and Alt across there to unmask those eyes. So now the eyes follow along. So I can sort of bend him over, and then let's say I want to bend him back up at the head. I can sort of bend his neck there. Okay, now you can see here we've got a little bit of an issue on the body. So you can always Control click to soften the masking out if you end up getting a little bit of an issue with that. And I actually want to bend him more at the waist. There we go. And then along the neck. And remember to unmask the eyes. And then we can come in and sort of bend the head up a little bit. And let's take the arm this arm over here, and I want to rotate it. You want to check and make sure you're in rotate. Rotate that up a little bit. Okay, and if we need to kind of move the shoulder, the elbow there. So I want them to be sort of rummaging in the pocket watch a little bit. So kind of reaching in there, you can pull the wrist up, kind of spin it around a little bit. Now you can go in and kind of sculpt, use your sculpting tools as well. Let's grab the other arm. And so we're doing this sort of without the context of the rest of the scene. I'll show you in a minute how we can start to integrate that in, but let's just come in here and I'm going to kind of spin this around a little bit. So you could go a lot further with this, but with the time we have, we'll stick with something like that. Now, when you've got it close to the way you want it, you can go to T-pose to sub-T, and it'll take all of your subtools and transfer those. So you can see now it moved those eyes into the right position. And then we still have our detail on our character. Now, obviously, you can go in and make some tweaks and changes to that, but you can see the shoulder lost a bit there, so we could go in and tweak that if we needed to. Kind of get that shoulder back and get the thinness of the arm back a little bit. So it's not going to be perfect, but it will help you when you're working with multiple subtools. So that's using transpose master and transpose it. We can also use contacts to make sure that our objects line up. So let's go ahead and take a look at that next.